bit of an update. Why we are being involved in these conversations is, even though it's a Crown iwi discussion treaty settlement, the outcome of any legislation obviously local authorities have to be effective. So we are in there from a technical standpoint and as a political standpoint as well to discuss the detail of the documentation. So I've been involved, and Patrick McHardy has been involved in some of the wording. We don't necessarily have any control over that, but we do try and give the best advice we can. His Worship made mention that the Waiho is 40% within our district, 50% within the Raukawa rohi, and 70% of New Zealand's bottled water does come from the Waiho. And he made a point of stating to the Minister, don't just focus on Hauraki iwi, because that's where they are focusing at the moment, because there's many parties that they're trying to consolidate and get a collaborative view. Raukawa need to be involved. They had set aside those discussions as part of their deed, and I love the words that His Worship said. Don't just assume that we are nice. Yeah. So very, very gave the Minister the message, and the staff did confirm for us that they acknowledged and they understood that those conversations are still yet to be resolved with Raukawa. Anything else you want to add?
I think the important part is that because we have settled and post-settlement, it's very easy for treaty settlement officers and the ministers to say, they're happy, we'll just look after these ones now, without realising that there was implications. The thing that amazed me most is the change in the office of the treaty settlements. People like Tanya off Paul James that we had worked with during the Raukawa settlement and coming right through. They had all moved on to somewhere else. Tanya Rott's gone Ministry of Justice, Paul James has gone to Ministry of Culture. So there were a new bunch of people under the treaty settlements that hadn't been involved with us in Raukawa talking about where we went. And when those people, as I believe, don't have an understanding of what went before, they make decisions, without that background. And so that it is going to take time, because the Minister said that there are 11 iwi in the Hauraki, that the previous Mayor of Matamata tried to bring together and love you all. But 5 of them are actually litigating in the tribunal at present. And the Minister said, I don't negotiate with people when they're in litigation. And so there was this, I don't know how long this is going to take, but I think we always have to be conscious that, okay, you don't make a decision for a lower Waihau that suddenly we find has an impact upon the upper Waihau where we are. And that's important just for us to be in there and to make quite certain that if there is a co-governance type arrangement that's put up, there will be iwi representative and local government representative, and we just have to be conscious that, we need to keep our options open to make quite certain that we are one of the co-governance ones, otherwise we'll be left out of the picture. Raukawa are actually also intrigued because they're saying we are one iwi with 50% of the Waihau. Are we just equal to each one of the 11 other iwi further down? Are you just giving us the same status? Because if there's only 7 iwi going to be represented, what sort of weighting does Raukawa have? So it's a matter of us just being vigilant and keeping an eye on it, so that we don't suddenly see that our post-treaty settlement, disadvantages us and Raukawa. So we're keeping that.
Yes. Are you going to give me speaking rights for the council meeting or kick me out?
I'll give you speaking rights.
Sorry, sir. The issue is one that has worried me for some time, that they're looking at a co-governance model for looking after the Pianga Waihau. Because of the dominance of the Hauraki iwi, it left one position only for Ngāti Hawa and Raukawa, and now that Ngāti Hindrangi have been recognised, there are 3 iwi south of hierarchy that we're going to get one voice on co-governance, which was very, very worrying to me as far as Hawa and Raukawa were concerned. What Ngāti Hawa have now said to me that it has progressed that there will be one representative of the three iwi on the main co-governance board, but there will then be, if you like, a sub-committee coming in underneath, and that subcommittee will be looking after Ngāti Hawa, Hinerangi and Raukawa only, because the intention was never that the hierarchy iwi would say what happened in Raukawa's territory. That was never going to happen. So therefore, rather than to build your numbers up, because otherwise you finish up with 5 Raukawa, 4 Hawa, and it would be totally top heavy. Ngāti Hawa are happy with the proposal to drop down as a subcommittee specifically looking after the river in their territory, and the same with Raukawa, and no interference from the top. So although it's a subcommittee, it's a recognised committee looking after this patch of the river, and local government will be involved.
That continue, but
Yeah, so that time we stop fighting our fight for us, we're happy with what we've got.
yeah, the litigation in there is, we're not too sure, but just a matter of keeping going.
Yeah.
To make quite certain that the treaty people know. If that all takes place, only thought we'd tick that off. There's no way thinking the text where it's been. Yeah. I recognise it. Just, we have to watch it, so it's a thing for our officers. It's going to take more than a year.
I don't think we can be strong enough on emphasizing how important it is to the lives of all people in the catchment, because with the co-governance of the Waikato River, I don't think the great majority of people have grasped yet how it is going to affect all their lives, and how the settlement will just add another dimension to that.
Stephen, do I ask Councillor has there been a suggested number of people on this governance? 7.
That's all the main one.
Yeah.
But could you just explain that the numbers all up for that are proposed for the governance of the Waikato? And will that be the same with people of the outcome?
The total governance, and this was the issue that we debated at the start, that they wanted one co-governance committee to look after the Piako, the Waihao, and the Coromandel issues. And the argument that came through is the people at the lower end, what is their interest in Coromandel? And the answer was nothing. So why would they attend a meeting? There was a whole lot of discussion on stuff that didn't affect them, and could make a decision and they didn't want to know. So we argue that there should be 2 groups, one looking after Coromandel as a separate group, and one looking after the Piako and the Waihao as a second separate group. That didn't get support, and they wanted one. They said the cost of administering 2 was so much higher. So therefore they're now back to the 1. And they're talking about something like 5 iwi, and I think it's TCDC, Hauraki, Manamata Piako, and South Waikato, and whether you get those authorities get 3 or 5 votes in that, you're trying to keep the numbers down. But the thing that now gives me confidence is whatever grouping that is overarching and is really only looking at the Hauraki North area, because they've accepted that the Hauraki, wherever that boundary is, and nobody knows because it's a crossover, whatever the jurisdiction of Ngāti Hawa, Hinerangi and Raukawa will be governed by those 3 iwi, nobody else, plus local government coming in. So if that is say, 5 of one of each of the iwi, Ngāti Hinerangi, who tried to join Matamata Piako's Mana Whenua group, Ngāti Raukawa called up and Henry Smith came to a meeting, and in the strongest language that I've ever heard of a Maori speak, said, no way. They are not an iwi, they are hapu, and Raukawa speaks for them. Hinerangi have now got treaty settlement to go against that and say they are an iwi in their own right, so they have now got recognition. So that brings them the 3rd iwi in that part of the group.
A little bit like poetry for us.
Yeah.
And so the same. But in terms of the top group, 7 and 7, and we're not dead certain on that there, but the important thing is that it will be I co-governance model that won't be like the Waikato River Authority. It won't be a duplicate of the Waikato River Authority in terms of what they have to do. The government has moved away from that. Interestingly, the gentleman who was the major treaty negotiator for the government, Mike Drever, has been moved, sideline moved, and he's looking after the lakes and the harbours out there. And Nick Barber, who was a previous MP, is now the treaty negotiator. So we're hoping that because we have a new negotiator, and we just have Mike Drever speak this year, life will move on slightly differently.
So, Mr. Chair, the Minister did indicate that they could come along and speak to individual councils in a later time to give a greater update on what that detail looked like, but it's still being worked through. So the next topic I just want to